I remember when I was 10 years old, watching an old Bugs Bunny cartoon, where Bugs Bunny put both of his fingers in the 12 gauge of Elmer Fudd's gun. After Elmer Fudd pulled the trigger, the barrel peeled back like a banana. Most of us today have probably seen this cartoon. The crazy thing is I still remember, how did Bugs Bunny survive? I can provide so many examples of such videos or shows that show this type of stupid violence. Time is littered with examples of human aggression and violence, and the only factor that can control these is proper parenting. I plan to prove that so-called theory that TV and video games cause aggressive behaviors is a myth. Bugs Bunny is just one example of how society gets a taste of violence and aggression. This was repeated to every generation of humanity since the beginning of time. Before books became accessible to the public, elders told stories of wars and great injustices to man. After the creation of the printing press, books brought these same stories into the community. Next, the creation of movies made these stories lifelike and brought another layer of realism to the ideas. Lastly, video games provided an interactive twist to such themes. The early 1100s gave birth to one of the most aggressive societies ever known to man, known as the Mongolians. The Mongolians had a leader called Genghis Khan. Genghis and the rest of the Mongolians did not have books, video games, or TV. All they had were stories told from their ancestors. Aggression and violence was a way of life, and it was a way it was taught for survival. The 1500s catered to a man known as the Ivan the Terrible. His histories of evil tendencies are directly contributed to his early childhood. Ivan's father died at 3, and his mother died at 8. Being raised by the government officials, he grew angry and lonely, in turn creating the aggression and violence in his kingdom. Ivan the Terrible did not have TVs or video games, just books. The 1930s brought, in my opinion, the most evil man the world has ever seen, Adolf Hitler. Adolf ruled Germany and decided to remove all the Jews from the face of the earth. Like all the others, Adolf's childhood was terrible. His own book states the constant beatings from his father, and Hitler had access to books in his era, as well as early videos. Today, there are many examples of aggressive and violent tendencies. One such is the Columbine Massacre. 2 senior students trying to kill as many classmates in their Colorado high school. After a full investigation was done, authorities stated that they had planned the killings a year out. And if the parents had just decided to take tabs on their boys, they would have noticed that the hateful websites being created and visited. Additionally, the parents may have noticed the collection of weapons being stored within their rooms. Both boys had access to books, internet, videos, and were known to play video games. Many studies on the web state a direct correlation to aggressive tendencies to watching TV and video games. But if you look closely at the end of these studies, there always seems to be an acknowledgement of how poor or lack of parenting could play a role in the outcome. In actuality, some state good parenting can prevent a lot of those violent tendencies. I have showed that aggressive behavior is not new to our species by providing you a historical breakdown of aggressive and violent men. I have proven that these men all have access to information and have history of bad parenting or lack of it. I grew up with access to books, TVs, and video games. I have read and seen my share of aggressiveness and violence. The question that comes to my mind is, why am I not violent? Well, the answer is decent parenting. I'm not saying I was raised perfect by my parents, but they definitely did their best. So in turn, I plan to parent my kids the way my parent parented me. My sons will naturally show aggressive tendencies, but my wife and I will teach them how to understand and control these impulses. Still, I wish sometimes life was like the cartoons and video games I could use in limited life.